They called him the Alton Giant. He was born on February 22, 1918, 100 years ago. At nearly 9 feet tall, Robert Wadlow went into the record books as the world's tallest man. But he died at the age of 22, so for most of his life, he was a growing boy. Wherever he went, this was a youth YMCA trip to the World's Fair in Chicago in 1933. He couldn't help but attract crowds. And that became his job with St. Louis's International Shoe Company, traveling from town to town, shoe store to shoe store.
But he did consider it a job.
He considered it a full-time job. His title was Field Representative for International Shoe.
Tim Leone produced a documentary about Robert Wadlow's life in 1991 and had interviewed those who had known him.
Here in Alton is the place where Robert was best known, and really was the place that the only place he could just be Robert Wadlow and not the world's tallest man.
True. To the people of Alton's credit, Robert was viewed and thought of as just one of the guys. He had always been bigger than everybody. He'd been bigger than the teachers in grade school. He was bigger than all the students. He was bigger than every adult. He was bigger than every car. He was the biggest thing, and he always had been that way. So the people here, his classmates, the teachers, the people in the church, and the various civic groups that he belonged to, didn't really react adversely to him. Robert had always been that way, so they didn't really think of it as anything out of the ordinary.
The thing about him is that for someone who was the world's largest man, a man who stood out no matter where he went, he seems remarkably to have been well-adjusted.
Very true. Robert was very comfortable with who he was. You have to remember, he was always in the public eye ever since he was a very young person, starting from about age 9. And so he developed a certain sense of sophistication far beyond the experience of any of his peers. And so he was pretty comfortable with who he was. Like he said one time, he said people should utilize their handicaps instead of fussing about them. He said, look at me, I'm getting along all right.
For Living St. Louis, I'm Jim Kircher.